has a vacancy, and he has a fixed job.
That could be interesting.
Yes. She does all the facts left. She wanted me, so I, when I moved back to Longwood, she's going back to her parents to save up for the house. We have barn cats. People just drop barn cats. Some of them are investigated, some of them are
All right, it's time to start a regular scheduled meeting. Summer, will you call roll?
Commissioner Patterson?
Here.
Commissioner Norwood?
Here.
Commissioner Siragusa?
Here.
Commissioner Roberts?
Here.
Commissioner Stallings?
Here.
Commissioner Orr?
Here.
And Mayor Mason.
Here. Our invocation tonight will be by Reverend Mike Summerfield, and our flag salute will be by Commissioner Siragusa. If you'd stand for that, remain standing, I would appreciate it.
Let's pray together. Father, we're reminded again this evening that we live in a world, in a country where you are in charge. We live in a world where you rule, and you have given us wise representatives to rule in your stead so that we can live free and prosper and be healthy. Father, as I consider asking a blessing for the commissioners of this city, the one thing that I would ask the most for is that you would give them joy, that they enjoy the work that they do, that they enjoy the interactions with each other and with others, and they enjoy sacrificing so much for our city. Father, I would also ask you to give them wisdom, that the decisions they make can continue the prosperity of this community and the health and safety that we enjoy. Lord, we know that you are our ultimate source, but you have placed these men and women in this place to enact what we need here in Enid. I ask you, Father, to continue to use them for your glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
Join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Be seated, please. Item 3.1, consider approval of minutes of the regular commission meeting of July the 16th, 2024.
So moved.
Second it.
I have a motion and a second. Cast your ballots, please. Motion passes 7-0. Item number 4.1, present pet available for adoption at the city's Animal Welfare Department.
Let's stand up. Come on, let's go.
Who's this we have today?
This is Cowboy.
Cowboy.
Today we have Cowboy. He is a 1-year-old lab mix. Pretty calm, don't bark a lot. He's one of our quieter ones. We cut in with 2 other dogs. He's in pen 15, and right now our adoptions are free, so come find your new pet.
right. Once again, I'll just remind everybody, please, please go adopt these dogs. If you don't have one, there's no, sorry to say, there's no better companion. Sorry, my wife, about that. They're a great companion.
Right now, we're taking in a lot of stray dogs. We've filled up today, so if you're even missing a dog,
Yeah.
come out.
Yeah. All right. You can also go online, right, at the website
Should be. we
and be
try
able to see those photographs,
Yeah,
right,
we try to
now?
get them posted, so.
Perfect, perfect. All right, thank you for being here. One other thing before I move to the next item. I'm going to leave this up here. August the 17th, starting at 9:30 to 11:30, we are going to cut the ribbon, have a little bit of a ceremony. It won't be just a ribbon cutting for the mural that we did out front of Dr. Martin Luther King. I would encourage everyone to be at this. You know, we've had a lot of challenges this year, and people have said a lot of things about our city that are not true. This is our chance to show up and show that it's not correct, that we are a community that is very diverse and understanding and inclusive, and let's not miss an opportunity. So anyway, that's August the 17th, 9:30 to 11:30. I think there'll be some refreshments, and it'll be inside this building, right here where you're at, and then we'll go outside and cut the ribbon. So, all right, 4.2, discuss any items remaining from the study session agenda of August 6th. Is there anything, Commissioner, you wanted to, okay? Anyone? All right, I'll go to item 5.1, I'm sorry. Hold a public hearing on a request to rezone 402-410 La Mesa Drive from C-O Commercial Office District to C1 Light Commercial District. And Leroy, I'll go to you first. This is a hearing, so I'll open it up after that.
Okay. Just wanted to show, this is the property that we're talking about, these 4 lots on La Mesa. This item concerns a request to rezone 402 to 410 La Mesa Drive from CO Commercial Office District to C1 Light Commercial District. The applicant has stated the property will be used as a dance studio school. The Planning Commission reviewed this request on July 15th at their regular meeting and unanimously recommended approval. Our department has not received any adverse comments to date on this rezoning request. Be glad to entertain any questions either during the public hearing or afterwards.
Commissioners, does anyone have a comment or a question? No?
I move approval.
Second.
We're in the hearing.
Yeah, we're still in a hearing. We can't take.
Anybody in the audience or?
So what I'd like to do next is anybody that's in the audience that would like to say anything.
Angie, this is your chance.
Sorry to say, I've never known Angie not to take an opportunity to speak,
I
so.
actually think Jason had his hand up back there.
Okay. All right, if there's no comment then, I'm going to move on to 5.2. Now, this is a companion. This is the piece that will zone, or that we'll vote on. Consider an ordinance amending the Enid Municipal Code 2014, Title 11, entitled Zoning, Chapter 2, entitled Administration and Enforcement, Section 11-2-1, entitled Changes and Amendments to Rezone Lots 402 through 410 La Mesa Drive from CO Commercial Office District to C1 Light Commercial District, and to amend the City of Enid, Oklahoma zoning map accordingly, providing for repealer, saving clause, and severability.
I move again.
Okay,
Approve it.
I have a motion and a second. Cast your ballots. Motion passes 7-0. Item 5.3, review the findings of the MAPC and consider whether or not to grant approval of the placement of a 40-foot by 8-foot shipping container within the I-3 Industrial Heavy District at 4301 East Owen K. Garrett Road. Leroy?
This first slide just shows the general location on East Owen Garrett Road of what the property that we're talking about. This next slide shows option one that was presented by the applicant and the recommendation from the Planning Commission of the conditions to put on it. The applicant applied for a study to place a 40 by 8 shipping container within the I-3 Industrial District at 4301 East Owen Garrett. The applicant's proposed use of the shipping container is to store appliance parts like pump, heating elements, and timers that they use every day and repair home appliances here in Enid. The Planning Commission, after they had their study of this issue, their July 15th, they unanimously recommend approval of the placement of the shipping container at the site applied for, subject to the following conditions. Number one, that the shipping container is placed on the property pursuant to option one submitted by Matt Thompson, Service Manager of Warren's Modern Appliance. Site access is to be through the existing drive on the south side of US 412 east of 42nd Street that has been grandfathered by ODOT as documented in an email provided from Mr. Walton, the ODOT Division 4 Utilities Engineer. B, existing trees are to be used as screening between the container and US 412. C, the container shall be placed a minimum of 200 feet south of the US 412 right-of-way. D, the size of the container shall be limited to 40 feet long, 8 feet wide, and approximately 9 feet tall. Number two, the container shall be oriented north and south on the property with the 8-foot width being the north-south sides or ends. And three, the existing tree line providing screening between the container and US 412 shall be maintained. It's my understanding that the applicant has agreed with these conditions that have been recommended by the Planning Commission. Be glad to answer any questions.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Cast your ballots. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you, Leroy. Item 5.4, hold a public hearing on 4 ordinances involving manufactured housing to encourage infill development on underused or vacant lots already served by existing infrastructure and to expand affordable, attainable housing opportunities in the community.
I'd like to start out to say that this was a total team effort, even though I'm the one making the presentation. The mayor and council members have had input in this process at various stages along the way. We've had town hall meetings. The Metropolitan Area Planning Commission has seen it and had input. We visited with the Manufactured Home Association of Oklahoma and garnered some good input from them. City manager, assistant city manager, community development staff, and our city attorney. So it has been a complete team effort. I won't go through this presentation in detail like I have other times. I think maybe at this point, some of the council members could give the presentation for me. They've seen it enough times. But again, our purpose is that we were assigned with was to look at opportunities to encourage infill development where we already have infrastructure and to expand affordable, attainable housing opportunities, but do it in a balanced approach where we still provide affordable housing, but we maintain the character of our traditional neighborhoods. The topics that we will talk about tonight and go through manufactured homes versus modular homes, perspective on the proposed action plan. We're not including the entire town. And then the 4 ordinances. Ordinance number 1, updating definitions of factory-built housing. That's almost in the must-have category because we need to update our definitions of mobile home manufactured housing because they're quite outdated. And then ordinance number 2 on the Webster Park area overlay. Ordinance number 3, the Southern Heights overlay district. And then ordinance 4 on the SPUD or simplified plan unit development. Those ordinance 2, 3, and 4 are standalone. You can adopt one of them, you can adopt all 3. The way they're written, they can stand on their own merits. So if you don't pass one of those 3, it doesn't mean that you can't pass the other 2 and they be effective. Won't spend a lot of time on this, but the primary difference between manufactured homes and modular homes is manufactured built on a permanent chassis. Modular homes are not built on a chassis, and they're constructed to the IRC code, and they're built to be placed on a permanent foundation. If you have questions on any of these slides, I'm going through rather quickly, let me know. This slide, just to put it in perspective, and I think when we first made the presentation in a workshop, we kind of come up with the phrase, not too big, too fast. And we tried to accomplish that if the Webster Park area R4 overlay district is the area in red, the Southern Heights is this area, and then the SPUD would cover the area that's in blue on the map, and there's a little bit of red that is R4A that it would cover. Again, and the blue and the red that are part of the SPUD, there's a process for those. So in those cases, if you want to put a residential manufactured home, there's a notice to the people that have property within 300 feet, and there's a process. In the Southern Heights and the Webster Park area, those are permitted uses for the residential manufactured homes in those areas, so there is no process other than applying for your building permit. But again, we're not trying to incorporate the entire community into this process. We'll go through some definitions. The first one is mobile homes. Simply, mobile homes do not meet the HUD building code that was adopted in 1974. So these structures would be approximately 50 years old, that are, some of them probably still remain in our community. The new terminology, manufactured home, again, it's a factory-built structure that's transportable in one more sections. It's built on a permanent chassis. It's designed to use as a dwelling with or without a permanent foundation. It does meet the HUD building code, and it may be upgraded to meet the IRC building code, but because it's on a permanent chassis, it still remains classified as a manufactured home. Single-family manufactured homes can go in the R3 mobile home neighborhood and the R6 mobile home park zoning districts under our current regulations, just like in the past mobile homes could. Residential, this is taking a manufactured home and adding features to it, design elements, to make it fit in our traditional neighborhoods. And we've been through this list several times. I'm not going to go through it line item by line item unless you choose for me to do it. I will say, as a result of one of our town hall meetings, we did add where you could do an ADA compliant ramp made of any appropriate materials. because there was question on that, because steps have to be metal or concrete. We made accommodation for ADA ramps as one of the questions that, and then there was a question on metal roofs. And our standard is with at least a Class C shingle. If the metal roof exceeds that standard, they could use a metal roof. If the metal roof type, like a roll-on metal roof, would not meet that minimum, so it would not be eligible. But a metal roof that either meets or exceeds the Class C shingle would be eligible. So that's a couple of changes we made as response to input we had at one of the town hall meetings. This is just some photographs of representing what we're talking about on residential manufactured homes. And then we divided it into two categories. The residential manufactured home could be a single-family residential manufactured home, and that's simply a residential manufactured home that's designed to be occupied by one family. And under our current ordinance, we're proposing that could go into Webster Park area, R4 overlay district. It could go into the SPUD, the Simplified Plan Unit Development. It could go into Southern Heights R2 overlay district and the R3 mobile home neighborhood and R6 mobile home park zoning districts. The second category is the two-family residential manufactured home, and that's simply a residential manufactured home that's designed to be occupied by two families living independently from each other. Right now, Webster Park area R4 is a place that you could do those as a permitted use, and then through the SPUD process, you could put these in the plan unit development in R4 and R4A. Now, to get to the ordinances, the first one talks about the Webster Park area. And if you look, these are permitted uses that are already in the underlying R4. And then what we've added through this ordinance is the opportunity to put single-family residential manufactured homes and two-family residential manufactured homes as permitted uses because the underlying zoning is R4. And stick-built duplexes or two-family homes are already allowed there because of the underlying zoning. This would just allow those same opportunities for residential manufactured homes. I'll pause there to see if there's any questions relative to the ordinance on the Webster Park area overlay district. If not, I would move on. Southern Heights R2 residential manufactured home overlay district. Again, the first part of the list are things you can already do in the R2 area. And you notice the underlying zoning of this overlay district is R2. So our original proposal was single-family residential manufactured homes. After our discussion in the work session, we've understand that there is a desire by many to try to rezone this area, either part of it or all of it from R2 to R4. To accommodate that so that we don't have to come back and amend the Southern Heights R2 overlay district, whether part of it's rezoned to R4 or R2, our recommendation on the ordinance we presented to you, that it be adopted with one amendment under 11-10F-4 permitted uses to change the language to single-family or two-family residential manufactured home, depending on the underlying zoning district. If we do that, if it's successful whether part of this area is rezoned to R4 or the entire area. This overlay district will accommodate that rezoning and allow either a single-family or two-family residential manufactured home based on the underlying zoning. So if you do the north half becomes R4, then you could do the two-family and the single-family. If the bottom half stayed R2, then you could just do the single-family. So this will automatically orient this ordinance to accommodate the rezoning if it occurs. You won't have to come back and amend this ordinance to make it work. I will pause again to see if there's any questions relative to the Southern Heights R2 overlay district. Okay. The last one is the SPUD, acronym for Simplified Plan Unit Development. In this area, permitted in the R4 and R4 zoning district. It's a creative approach to use the land, again, for infill development on already platted lots. If single-family and two-family residential manufactured homes on individual or multiple lots. A additional category, if you have a single-wide residential manufactured home. That is a single-wide manufactured home that has all of the additional building element characteristics that make it fit into a neighborhood: front porch, face the street, siding. The only exceptions to this would be it may be less than 24 feet to accommodate what we call single-wide, and then the lot orientation wouldn't be necessary to face the street. But it would meet all of the other criteria to be considered a residential manufactured home. To accommodate this, the single-wide is restricted to multiple continuous platted lots. And the thought process there is you don't want to go in a neighborhood and you've got site-built or stick-built homes is the majority of that block. And in every fourth lot, you stick in a single-wide mobile home and it disturbs or makes the balance of the character of the neighborhood diminished. But if you have 5 or 6 lots together where it makes it look like a single-wide residential manufactured neighborhood, then that would be more appealing. And that's the type of development you would have to do for the single-wides. And these are subject to a process, and those are just some pictures of the different type of units. The application, we've simplified it. This is almost the same as the process you would do now to get a building permit for a site-built home in any zoning district. You submit a plot plan, we spell out what's in there. It's basically the same thing you would do if you were going to build a stick-built home. A land survey would not be required, just like on a site-built or stick-built home. If there are survey pins we can find where we got a starting point to make sure we know where the setback requirements are. If there is no pin and we can't identify where the property begins, then we would require a survey. Again, that's the same process we use for stick-built homes now. There is a review process because these are going anywhere in R4 and R4A, and this is required by state statute for a plan unit development. There's a public notice, then there's a notice of hearing in the newspaper 15 days before the hearing. There's a notice, written notice that's mailed out to property owners within 300 feet, and there's a notice posted in the newspaper, and it goes to a hearing before the planning commission and followed up with a second hearing before the mayor and Board of Commissioners for final approval. So there is a process for this one, again, back to the Southern Heights. The way we've amended that, if you rezone that area, that avoids you from having to do the SPUD process to do the manufactured homes that are two-family. They would automatically be approved by our change in the ordinance if the underlying zoning is R4. So it eliminates that process. With that, I would be glad to entertain any questions during the public hearing portion or after the public hearing.
Commissioners, you have any comments,
Just to
concerns? Wait, I'm going to open it up to the public. I've got a speaker. I just want to see if y'all have any comments.
I just had a question. Just had a question.
Do you have a question? Yeah, you can ask.
For the overlays, the residential manufactured home requirements, even though those are not specifically stated in the ordinance, these are the minimum requirements that would be,
I believe they are in the ordinance.
The definition.
In
Yeah.
definition.
okay.
And then in the different overlay districts, we just use that terminology that ties back to the definitions.
Gotcha, okay.
With that being said, I'm going to open it up. Pastor Norwood, you're on the list to speak. I know this is 5.4. You've signed up for 5.5. This is the hearing that would give you the opportunity to speak. The other's an action item. Okay? So I'll turn the microphone over to you. If you'll state your name and your address. We try to hold it to 3 minutes on a hearing. However, on a hearing, any one of the commissioners can request more time. So, okay?
My name is Derwin Norwood Sr. I live at 1123 East Oklahoma Street here in Enid, Oklahoma. And we thank God for the mayor entertaining this, and Mr. Gilbert and the ward commissioners. I own a lot of the property in Southern Heights, and I had already planned on building duplexes there and my home. And I've got plans drawn up and everything else. And the reason we hadn't did anything is because of the water issues. But now they've got the water issues straightened out.
Yes.
And because the interest rates and the cost of material went up. But we're still planning on building. I had got with Chris Bowers when he was here, and also got with the engineer about this. My plans have already been approved, and I would like to see Southern Heights a blanket C4. A blanket C4, because that entails C2 also.
R4.
So,
R, residential, not commercial.
oh, yeah.
R4.
Yeah, R4. I said C4.
I knew what you meant, even if Saragusa didn't.
I guess last time I had to apply, it was C because it was commercial. All right, but I would like to see us have a blanket R4 in Southern Heights, because I would still like to use the plans that I've already had drawn up to put some duplexes there. And they will be nice, stick-built. And I know who we're dealing with now, manufactured homes, but I am a contractor, and I know exactly what I'm doing. So if you all could honor that, and a lot of people in the area would like to see that also. In fact, at the town hall meeting, they voiced it. You asked them to raise their hands, and a lot of them raised their hands, that you change that to a C4. All right.
Dad, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Do you see anyone objecting or opposing a full blanket of R4?
No, I don't. No, I don't. I don't see that. I don't see why they would. It wouldn't make sense because it covers R2 also.
But that opportunity is still there if a citizen wanted to object. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what we discussed prior to, or during the study session, your son, Commissioner Norwood, also had brought up the same things that you had, that there was a need for that. I was at that same meeting. I saw the hands go up. And I think that we probably, after we pass this, we probably need to come back and look at doing that on a blanket. I'm not opposed to it. Now, we'll have to put it out there to the public. There's
Right.
guidelines
Yeah.
and restrictions we have to go through. If someone is objected to it, they've got their right to come to the microphone like anybody else and tell us why. But I'm personally not opposed to that. I want to see infill. I think that's a good place to start right over there. And I think, it's a cliche, but, a high tide raises every single boat. And so, but I think we'll be at a point where we can probably start that process. And if it's a blanket zone, that doesn't matter to me. Doesn't matter to me. So I think, hopefully, I'm not speaking for the other commissioners, but I think we can probably look at that and get that done as soon as we go through whatever steps the city requires.
All right.
Is that fair enough?
Yes, sir.
Anybody
I'm
else?
comfortable with that.
Okay.
Yeah, and we know it takes 51% of the population to object to it, to stop it, so I don't see that happening. I mean, everyone has a right to voice their opinion, but
That's right.
thank you.
All right.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Okay, I will go ahead like I did a while ago and open that up. If there's anybody else that would like to speak during this hearing, I want to give you an opportunity.
I just stepped in on the last minute. I missed the town hall meeting.
Come up to the microphone if you would and give us,
My name is Ray Graves.
I know, but-
Over in Southern Heights.
Come closer, Ray. Come on up to the mic. Yeah, there you go.
Thank you. My name is Ray Graves. I live in Southern Heights, 616 East York. And so from 616 on down to that creek, now that creek, that land can't be built on. So what would happen with that? Because that is a flood zone. We were never allowed to build anything on that land.
The rules would be the same if it's in a flood zone. I'm not familiar with that
Yeah.
specifically, but our engineering department would look at it, our floodplain
Okay.
administrator, and if it's in a floodway, it can't be built, and if it's a
Mm-hmm.
floodplain, it can be, but there's requirements that Morale can tell you all about.
Okay, and my family would know about those with everything or whatever changes that is going to happen to that land or do you want to happen? Because I have relatives that own that land, live in Texas and Virginia. Everything comes to me, to my house. The house I live on lives with my other family members on that lot. So, and there's one right behind your lot. Yeah, and he lives in Texas, but they stay up with the taxes and everything, and it stays cut, and so I would just like to say, I'm sorry, I have not been to the meetings in a long, long time. I couldn't even really give you a reason why. I know I'll be tired in medical stuff, but I need to start coming back and being involved again with the community, with you guys. So if y'all just let me know. I was asking about the blanket and the zoning, the young fellow over there. I should have speaking. But thank you again. Please keep me informed. If you need to explain things to me, please do, because I have no idea. So,
I just,
Ray, go ahead.
Ray, I just got a question, and since you live down in that area, do you have a problem with it changing from R2 to R4?
so tell me what's the R2 and R4?
R2 is single-family dwellings, R4 is to where you can have the duplexes. Do you have a problem with that in the
And
area?
so you all would take over that land?
No.
Oh, no. Oh,
This
okay.
is people that own the land, like
Oh, we can build
Pastor
on it.
Norwood,
Oh.
that if he wanted to put a duplex down on any one of those properties that he owns,
Mm-hmm.
do you have an issue with that, or do you want it just single-family?
I cannot answer that. I will have to, family, the the
No,
owner's
I'm not
name.
talking your
Oh.
property, I'm talking Southern Heights in itself.
No, I'm fine. No. It's not my property. I could answer for someone else, but I can only
No, answer it for
mine, yeah.
yourself,
But,
since you own
yeah.
property there.
Yeah, it's, we've always said, we grew up military back, but anytime we came back into Enid, that whole Southern Heights, you never seen a lot empty. And so for that to get back to where people can be together, know each other, be involved with, we even had 2 stores over that way. And now so many empty lots. Anybody that comes home, they drive through there and it really, it's not, so yeah, what,
I think we want the exact same thing. So, and to be clear, we're not taking any property. There's no property being
Yeah, thank you.
taken.
That's-
This is purely a rezoning to allow for a different type of home to be
oh,
built on
okay.
things.
Oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you so much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thanks for being here again.
I just had some questions on the infill portion, if you would be, can you pull that up and try to explain, is the infill just the spud zone that you have to get the special, so we just have to go through the engineering and explain to you what we are planning to do with infill to get,
Correct.
to do building?
On the, let me get back to it. So on the SPUD, it is not the 2 overlay districts, but the area in blue that's zoned R4, and then the little spots in red that are R4A.
Okay.
Because we're not doing an overlay over the entire community. These would be on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
And so the process that you would go through is very similar to the same process. We've simplified that. That's why we're calling it SPUD.
Okay.
It's very similar to the process that you would go through if you were going to build a stick-built house on a lot. You come in and do a plot plan, and as long as you can draw it to scale, you can have anybody draw it for you. It doesn't have to be drawn by an engineer. And then as far as requiring a land survey, as long as we can identify a pin on the property where we got a starting point, because we have to have some starting point to know where the setback lines are,
Okay.
then you don't have to do a survey. But if we can't identify a pin to have a starting point, then you would have to do a survey. And that's the same process on any stick-built house in town. And then it goes through an approval process because it's a location by location. There's a public notice that goes out so that everybody in that neighborhood's aware that you're proposing to put a residential manufactured home on that lot, and it goes through a hearing before the planning commission and then a hearing through the mayor and board of commissioners for approval.
Okay. And the limits, that was I saw an exception, something about you can actually build a single lot. Is it just one per plot? They just have to be contiguous?
If it is, if they're single-wide residential manufactured homes similar to this, it still has to meet all of the additional architectural features to make it residential in appearance, but it can be less than 24 feet, so it can be a single wide. And the lot orientation, it doesn't have to face the street, but we want those to be on multiple contiguous lots, so it gives the appearance of a neighborhood. We don't want them scattered, one here, then you got 3 stick-built homes or site-built homes and one here, because we think it takes away from the appearance of the traditional neighborhood. But if you got 4 lots on the end, then you can propose using those 4 lots.
But it is still only one per lot?
It doesn't necessarily have to be one per lot. It goes through an approval process. You could, in a plan unit development, you can get creative And if you got, you have to have a 50-foot minimum front normally. If you want it to go to 40 and on 4 lots, put 5 single wides, you could propose that because it goes through a review and approval process.
Okay, so I
Or,
just-
or more than one per lot.
Correct.
Because you're designing it yourself and it's R4.
And it's going through a review process.
Okay, so get with like the reviewer to see what,
You
to
would.
look at the lot and see what I can do?
You would look at the lot, do a sketch of what you want to do, make an appointment with us in community development. We would review and go through with you based on your sketch of your opportunities. And then once you did that, then you could go into the more formal process of submitting your application. But we'd be glad to work with you to review it if you just bring in a sketch.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
If it passes.
Yes, ma'am.
Subject to the passage.
I just would like to thank everyone for allowing us to speak. My name is Lanita Norwood, 4680 East Ohio. Thank you, Mayor and Mr. City Manager and all of the constituents. I totally agree with the R4 because we need to build the communities back up and provide housing. As we gain more jobs, we have to have a place for people to stay. So I am in that community, and I say, yes, let's move forward.
Okay, good. All right.
In closing, I would just reiterate again with the one amendment that we proposed on the ordinance for the Southern Heights R2 overlay district. It will function just like the Webster Park area overlay district, depending on the underlying zoning. So whatever part of it, whether it's all of it or part of it, that's zoned R4, you could do both single family and two family. The parts that don't get rezoned, that remain R2, you could only do the single family residential. So you won't have to come back and amend this ordinance if you rezone all that area. It will already be set up to accommodate that rezoning.
And that's on 5.7, we're going to need the amendment, correct?
I don't have the number in front of me, but it's whichever one.
Yes. That's the one that's Southern Heights.
You're
Yes,
right.
sir.
All right, so when we get down to that, I'm going to read it, and then whoever makes the motion, if you'll read the amendment into it, and then we'll,
I've written that down.
I have it.
You got it?
thank you. Okay. Anything else, Leroy?
No, sir, unless there's questions.
All right. Well, that being said, that'll end our hearing. I'll move to 5.5. This is an action item. Consider an ordinance amending the Enid Municipal Code 2014, Title 11, entitled Zoning, Chapter 1, Purpose, Interpretation, Definitions, Section 11-1-7, Definitions, to amend the definitions of manufactured home and mobile home and add definitions of modular home to the IRC Code, residential manufactured home, single-wide manufactured home, two-family residential manufactured home, and amend the Title IX amend Title IX entitled Building Regulations, Chapter 12, Mobile Home and Travel Trailer, Parks, Section 9-12-2, Definitions, to remove the definition of mobile home and reference the definitions in Title 11, providing for repealer, saving clause, and severability and codification.
Could you repeat that?
This is already more than I read all through high school. So you know. All right, so I will look for a motion if we want to pass this.
I'll make a motion to pass items 5.4 through 5.8. Can we do it that way? Is that legal, Carol, or does it have to be
Do
individually?
it one at a time.
Okay. All right, go ahead, Keith, you can do it.
I'll second your motion on 5.5.
Okay.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Please cast your ballots on 5.5. Motion passes 7.0, or 7-0, 7.0. Item 5.6, consider an ordinance amending the Enid Municipal Code 2014, Title 11, entitled Zoning, Chapter 10, Supplemental Zones, to add Article F entitled Webster Park Area R4 Duplex or Two-Family Residential Manufactured Housing Overlay District, and to adopt Section 11-10F-1 intent to address the need for housing, Section 11-10F-2, purpose to designate a part of town where residential manufactured housing is permitted by right, Section 11-10F-3, boundaries of overlay district, to set out the boundaries of the Webster Park Area Overlay District, Section 11-10F-4, permitted uses, allowing uses in R4 district and residential manufactured homes, Section 11-10F-5, used by review, providing for the process in R4 district, Section 11-10F-6, area regulations, same as R4 district, Section 11-10F-7, height regulations, same as R-4 district, providing for repealer, saving clause, severability, and codification.
Most of this is in my ward, and I move to approve.
And I second.
A motion and a second. Cast your ballots. Motion passes 7-0. All right, item 5.7. Consider an ordinance amending the Enid Municipal Code 2014, Title 11, entitled Zoning, Chapter 7, Supplemental Zones, to adopt Article G, Southern Heights R-2 Residential Manufactured Housing Overlay District, to adopt Section 11-10G-1, intent to encourage infill development to meet Enid's needs for affordable housing, Section 11-10G-2, purpose to create the Southern Heights R2 Residential Manufactured Housing Overlay District, 11-10G-3, boundaries of the overlay district, 11-10G-4, permitted uses, 11-10G-5, use by review, 11-10G-6, area regulations, 11-10G-7, height regulations, providing for repealer, saving clause, severability, and codification.
I'll make a motion that we also add any use permitted in R2 residential single-family district, single-family residential manufactured homes, dependent upon underlying zones, 1 or 2 family housing, item 5.7.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. Please cast your ballot. Motion passes 7-0. Item 5.8, consider an ordinance amending the Enid Municipal Code 2014, Title 11, entitled Zoning, amend Chapter 10, Supplemental Zones, to add Article H, Infill Residential Plan Unit Development, to adopt Section 11-10H-1, General Description, Section 11-10H-2, Intent and Purpose, to facilitate infill residential development by allowing residential manufactured housing, Section 11-10H-3, location within R-4 and R4A districts, Section 11-10H-4, design, Section 11-10H-5, effect of SPUD approval, Section 11-10H-6, administration of PUD, Section 11-10H-7, pre-application review, Section 11-10H-8, application for consideration of SPUD, Section 11-10H-9, application for review of site plan, Section 11-10H-10, issuance of building permits, providing for repealer, saving clause, severability, and codification.
Move that we approve.
I have a motion
Second.
and a second. Cast your ballot. Ooh, motion passes 7-0. All right, I'm going to go to item number 6, which are our consent items.
Move to approve consent items.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Please cast your ballots. Motion passes 6-0. Item number 7, recess to convene as the Enid Municipal Authority. Trustees of the, item number 8, all trustees of the Enid Municipal Authority regular meeting are present. Item 9.1, consider a resolution increasing the 2024-2025 physical financial plan for the Enid Municipal Authority in the amount of $262,750.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Cast your ballots. Motion passes 7-0. Item number 9.2, approval of claims in the amount of $276,160.18.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Cast your ballots. Motion passes 7-0. Item number 10, adjourn to convene as the Enid Economic Development Authority. All trustees are present of the Enid Economic Development Authority. Item 12.1, consider or approval of claims in the amount of $668,904.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Cast your ballots. Motion passes 7-0. Item number 13, adjourn to convene as the Enid Public Transportation Authority. All trustees are present for the Enid Transportation Authority regular meeting. 15.1, approval of claims in the amount of $2,626.05.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Cast your ballots. Motion passes 7-0. Item number 16, adjourn to reconvene as the Enid City Commission. Item number 17 is public comment. I only have one person signed up for public comment. That'd be Mr. Rhodes, Justin Rhodes. Remember, during public comment, we limit that to 1 minute, please.
Of course. Justin Rhodes, 211 West Main. Well, praise the Lord. We have to give ourselves to Jesus. He literally became us on the cross. We literally let him come into our hearts and take over ourselves. Where it's no longer us that lives, but Christ. We need to study the Sermon on the Mount and do what it says, because we're entering to the time that is going to be happening, which is the storm. Jesus is the rock. The rock's got to be here. If we build that on his voice only, our houses, our lives won't be destroyed. It's not so much about this life, it's the life to come. We've got to be conformed to his image. So is our lifestyle looking like Jesus, or is it just us? We need to lose ourselves in Christ.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you. With that being said, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.
Did something. He did something.